Here we are, week 160. Okay, so what have I done this week? I have, actually last week, I forgot to mention it, is I took out the silica. I pointed down there because under the skimmer, I don't think you can see it, I've got an air drying unit that I made for my ozone generator. So basically I just repurposed the three pre-filters you get in an RO unit. I just took the filters out, cleaned it all, and filled them with silica beads, which basically take moisture out of the air. I think there's about 4 kilos in total in there. And they're colour change beads, so they go from like an orangey yellow, and as they absorb the moisture, they go to a sort of bluey purple. And you can revitalise them, I guess you say. You can basically drive the moisture back out of them by either microwaving them or putting them in the oven. So I chose to put mine in the oven because I noticed the first 2 pods were probably half to 2/3 purple colour. So I thought I would see what the process was like, so I just put them in a baking tray for an hour at 120. Got a gas oven. Yeah, and they basically change colour back to that sort of orangey amber colour. Yeah, so that was quite simple, so that's quite nice. I'm not entirely sure how many times you can do that, but I think that, I'm not entirely sure how long they lasted, but I think it's in the months, to be honest. I'm trying to think when I made it. I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months. So I'll probably get a year or more out of 4 litres of silica beads. So that's pretty cheap, actually. Yeah, so I did that, so that went fine. The other thing I'm doing is I am still tuning in the nitrate reactor. So if you look there, I've got no nitrites or nitrates coming out of that reactor now. So that's gone really quick, actually, because I thought it was going to be probably 4 to 6 weeks before I got like nitrate-free water coming out. So slightly concerned because it's only been a week. It's only been set up a week. So I tested the nitrites first, obviously, because if you have high nitrites, you're not going to get an accurate nitrate reading because they disrupt the readings for nitrates. But the nitrites are 0, the nitrates are 0 as well. So now I am adjusting the drip rate because I want to get the maximum flow through the reactor, but still having the effluent at 0 nitrates. So I'm just each couple of days just slowly upping the drip rate. I mean, so far I've been very impressed, to be honest. Super simple. Yeah, so I mean, if that works well, I'll see where the nitrates sit when that is up and kind of running at the maximum it can have. I've already said it's only made for 1,000 litres, and this is probably over 3,000. But I'll just see where the nitrates sit with that. I might get a bigger unit. I might just stick with using that in the combination with the bio pellets, which I'm also running. But the only problem is the sump. As I've said many times, it's a small sump on a big tank, and 2 reactors sitting in the sump is a little bit cramped, really. And when I do a water change, which is today, even though I've got my automatic water changes doing the majority of it, I do tend to clean out the sump each week and a little tank down there. It's just a bucket size water change in the sump, really. I don't know what they hold, about 10, 20 litres, 15 litres, something like that. I'll just take out, that thing, film detritus on the bottom, really, because I just don't like it building up. I just find it's easier to do it quickly once a week than it is to leave it for months on end, and it turns into a major job. Yeah, so I had a random light as well. Can never go any length of time without one of these lights. So that light over there in the corner didn't go off. I had a heads up, to be honest, because on the Apex app, it shows you, it gives you the TBL on your lights when they're all kind of on automatic mode. And I kept getting a not connected signal from the Wi-Fi module, which normally tells me that one of the lights is not connecting, and it was that light. But I don't know why. I should have just come out and done it. I looked at it and went, oh, right, I need to go and check the lights. Then I completely forgot. And then, as per usual, I'm in bed at night about 11:30. I thought, I'll just check the tank's good. And there's the light on. So I'll come all the way back down, back out here, reboot the lights. I couldn't, obviously everything else is dark. I don't want to turn the lights on because it's 11:30 at night. So I'm rummaging around up on the stall trying to find what plug does the light. And in the end, because they're plugged in sets of 4, I just turned the whole 4 set off and turned them back on, and it rebooted. It was fine. But yeah, so they're still, I do find them annoying. There's no getting around it. I know everyone likes Radion lights, and most large stores use them, but I find it hard to warm to them, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, so that's that. So hopefully I can get through another few weeks without them playing up. Yeah, I can't think of anything else really. That's with the nitrate reactor. Yeah, auto water changes seem to be working pretty well. Yeah, I'm just kind of ticking over till my holiday really, because I've only got a week and a half, I think it is, before I go away. So I just want everything ticking along nicely, because my son is looking after my dog and the tank. So yeah, I just wanted to clean the glass and feed the fish, and that's it. I don't really want any dramas out here if I can avoid it. So yeah, I bought another 2 boxes of salt last week, so I've got a 4,000 litres in my IBC outside. So that should, I'm probably doing 200 litres a week now rather than the 3. I haven't noticed. What I have actually noticed is that I've had a bit of a growth spurt on a lot of the corals because the alk consumption has gone up. So it was doing about 0.3 of a DKH a day, and now it's 0.4, 0.5. So I had some capacity, to be honest, in the amount, because it was sitting at 10 for quite a while, and then it gradually came down to 9, and now it's coming down to, I think it's about 8.8 actually at the moment. And I'd imagine tonight at 6, when it takes it's always the lowest because obviously it's had all day, it'll probably get down to 8.5, and then obviously at night, because the calc gets dosed 24/7 basically, it'll be back up in the morning, but it is trending down. So I'm adjusting it with the sodium hydroxide, because I can't really put any more calc in, because I dose calc to the maximum of the evaporation, RO water evaporation. So I will check that today, just check the salinity is still on point, because it has been warm the last couple of days, so it might have evaporated more than the 22 litres a day that I'm replacing. So I may be able to squeeze another litre or so of alk in per day. But yeah, I can definitely see some good signs of growth in most of the tank actually, which is always good. I've had issues again with my hammers, purely down to me, because well, it's not down to me actually, it's down to, I'm pretty sure it's down to that Lenardi Ras, because she flips them over because they're not stuck. They're on a flat rock, but they're not stuck to the bottom. And so when she goes on a hunt for crustacea, she flips them over, and then she flips the gold hammer into the MP60 flow, and it got driven up against a rock and was just being blasted by current. So that was a couple of weeks ago, and then yesterday, I think it was, or possibly the day before, she did exactly the same with the green one, and that was also round up against the rock. I lost a head on the gold hammer when that happened, but I mean, it seems very. I've moved it actually. I'm looking down there because I've moved it into this where my big clam used to be. It looks really happy there actually, and I'm looking at the flow, and it's pretty gentle in there, to be honest. So it's probably not beyond the realms that I could move that one into there as well, or buy another one maybe and put that in there. I was actually thinking I've got what have I got? Trackies, Lobos down in that tank downstairs. They might be able to go in there, but they're not actually mine. Or some of them mine, some of them aren't. I can't actually remember what ones are mine and what aren't now. But some of them I'm keeping for a guy who, when he sets his tank back up, he's going to put them back in his tank. So hopefully when he turns up, he can remember what ones he wants. So I did think maybe I could put them up here, but I don't want anything, the copper bands or maybe some of the angels. I don't want them to just muller his corals. I thought it was a bit risky, so I'll probably leave them where they are, to be honest. Yeah, other than that, yeah, I've got some good growth, so yeah, it's looking pretty good actually. I can't really think of anything else that I've done, to be honest. There's not a lot going on at the moment. I'm kind of moving over thinking about the coral spawning and what I need to do, and I don't want to talk about in these videos. I don't really want to do crossovers. I want to just do two distinct. This is about just running the tank and what I do to run the tank, and that's going to be that. So I will prefix the video. Prefix. Sorry, that's me just thinking. Yeah, I'll probably do. What was I thinking? PSPS in the video titles or something. That'd be like pelagic swimmer, project spawn, PSPS. Yeah. So if you see that, it's about the coral spawning. If you don't see it, it's about the 3,000 litre. I think that's what I'm going to go with. I haven't really made any progress with that. I'll talk about it anyway in another video. Yeah, so I think that's it for this week. Yeah, so it's just kind of tick over mode really. So not very exciting, but that's what it is for this week. So 9 times out of 10, the second I go, that's it, and I turn the camera off, and then I think of something else that I've done. So I did actually check my phosphates yesterday. So the last 3 readings, because I'm still trying to dial in the lanthanum chloride, I've been checking it every 2 days, every 48 hours at 4 o'clock basically. I check the phosphates, and I think the last 3 readings have been with, well, they've basically been 0.8 or 0.9. So I went 0.8, 0.9, 0.8. I said that around all right, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, so it's either 0.8 or 0.9 for the last 3 readings. So I think that's pretty much nailed in. I'm still dosing it into the actual skimmer itself. So even though it looks not very professional, to be honest, it's working, which is the main thing. I could drill a hole in the top of that skimmer and feed the line through. I guess in my head, I keep thinking, I paid an absolute fortune for that skimmer. Do I want to drill a hole in it? Or do I just want to leave it as it is, really? I know what I was going to say. Right, yeah. Right, so, yeah, that made me think of it. Because I sent an ICP off because I wanted to see the lanthanum. I wanted to make sure it's coming down. You remember, I was dosing the lanthanum into my overflow box and it was going down into my sump. And I was hoping the filter fleece and a combination of that with the skimmer would pull all the lanthanum out, but it didn't. So it wasn't high, but it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, 20 microlitres or something. And now it's gone down to less than half in the last one. But I sent off a TMC mass spec ICP, and I also sent off the reef elements. Now, I didn't do it to make a comparison, because what I did is I sent the TMC one off just because I wanted to see what the mass spec ones are like. I know it goes to America, and I don't know why, but I thought the postage was included. So I filled up my vials, put them in the box, stuck the label on, and then chucked it in the post box, which is at the end of my road. Thought no more of it, and I was expecting a week, maybe. And I didn't hear anything back. So I just kind of thought it's got lost in the post or whatever. I went to the Love to Reef, and TMC was there, and they had the ICPs, and only when I looked on the box and I saw the arrow with a picture of the stamp, and I was like, oh, you're paying to pay for your postage. So I was like, oh well, that's 35 quid down the drain then, basically, because I didn't put a stamp on it. And then weirdly, I bought a Reef Elements one because I thought, well, I want to check where the lampion's at, so I'll just have to do another one. Sent that off, and then, I mean, it's amazing. The day I sent the Reef Elements one off in the post, I got an email from TMC saying, we've got your sample. So I don't know how they got it, because I didn't pay for the postage, so I don't know whether they paid the postage or not. So I was surprised. And then I got both results back on the same day, I think it was. So I got the mass spec and the normal OES from zlements on the same day. Now, you've got to bear in mind, obviously, that sample that they did, the TMC, must have been at least 2 weeks, if not probably 3 weeks, actually. I think it must have been 3 weeks old. And most of the results were garbage, if I'm honest. What it does tell me is that they don't check anything. They obviously just, there's the sample, they go through the process, they run it, they churn out the numbers at the end, and they send them off in a report. No one actually goes, so they make any sense. It's obviously a completely automated, maybe they do like random checks every 100 samples or something to see whether everything looks good. But I've decided really that I'm not going to do ICPs very often. I mean, to be fair, I only really check it for the pollutants. That's really all I'm doing. I do not adjust my tank to what those ICP says, because I just don't think they're good enough, to be honest. that's my take. I know loads of people dose their tanks, trace element dosing and everything. I just don't think they're good enough. That's just my personal take on it. And that is probably why I won't be doing it. I might do maybe 1 every 6 months. If I've got an issue in the tank, I'll use it just to see if there's anything glaringly obvious. Yeah, other than that, I will not be sending off many ICPs now. I mean, every single ICP that I've done, I looked actually on the results, I've actually done one every month, I think, for the last 8 months. And every single one has come back with low trace elements, even though I dose trace elements every day. And I've not adjusted any of the trace elements, and everything's still bobbing along just fine. So the way I look at it is I've probably saved myself at least £500–600 in not buying those little bottles of trace elements, and because the amount they tell me to dose, it's extravagantly expensive. So yeah, as I said before, I dose 27 mil a day of the A and K elements, because that's going to make it last 6 months. I think it is 185 days or whatever it is. So I'm dosing that based on the financial things that I don't want to spend any more money on trace elements. So unless things start looking very ropey in the tank, they will have to suffice on 27 millilitres a day of traces, and obviously the constant automatic water changes, which are also going in the tank every day. Maybe I'll have to adjust that as the tank grows in more and more and more. But at the moment, that's where I am, and that's what I think about the ICPs. I don't think they are, for me personally, I don't think they work well enough for me to adjust my dosing to. I'm all right with the macro elements. I mean, you know, things like calcium, the alkalinity, the phosphates, the nitrates, all those I think are fine in an ICP, but all of those 16 trace elements that they measure, they just don't make any sense to me. I just, yeah, anyway, so that's where I am. I'm not going to do it. Right, so yes, that's what I was going to say, basically, about those. I mean, I don't know what the turnaround would be with the TMC. I've heard other people say it took like 4 days, 5 days, because they get posted, they all get collected in London or Chorleywood, and then they get sent to the States somewhere. So I obviously back them up and send them. So yeah, I just looked at some of the results and just went, it's just. I mean, for example, one of them, the TMC one, told me I have low phosphates. I can't remember what the actual figure was, but it told me I needed to dose phosphates. And then the Reach Elements one tells me my phosphates are high and I need to take measures to bring them down. And at the time I sent that sample in, my phosphates were at, on a Hannah, 0.14. Now, I know a lot of people would say, well, that is high, but I don't really get stressed about phosphates at that level. 0.15 and above is where I'd start to go, right, I'm going to do something to bring them down, and I don't really like them. 0.8 is about 0.08 is about the lowest I want them. I just shifted that whole, because when I came in this hobby, everyone went 0.05 is where you need to now. You can go down to 0.02 or 3 and up to 0.067, but you need to be. And I've got to be honest, I mean, I don't want to just fight the tank all the time, trying to get the parameters where people say they should be, when they can sit quite happy at between 0.1 and 0.15. I dose a little bit of lamp film. I want to dose the minimum amount I can, just to stop them continually creeping upwards. So I dose 20 ml a day of that, and that kind of keeps it. It looks like it's going to keep it about 0.9, which is fine. Yeah, so there we are. So I've managed to ramble on because I thought I didn't have anything to say. Yeah, so that's it. So I will see you in the next one.